Pro-cyclical versus counter-cyclical fiscal policy, explained once and forever. Imagine you visit a hospital. Two patients arrive on the same day. The first has a very high fever. The second has a dangerously low body temperature. Now imagine the doctor gives the same injection to both patients. Would that be good medicine? No. The right treatment depends on the patient's condition. Exactly the same principle applies to an economy. Sometimes the economy becomes too weak. Sometimes it grows too fast. The government may use the same fiscal tools, taxes, and public spending. But whether those actions help or harm the economy depends entirely on when they are used. Today, you'll understand pro-cyclical fiscal policy and counter-cyclical fiscal policy so clearly that you'll never need to memorize their definitions again. You'll understand the logic behind them. Why does the economy need fiscal policy? An economy never grows in a straight line. There are periods when businesses expand, factories produce more, employment rises, and household incomes increase. As incomes rise, people spend more. Higher spending encourages businesses to produce even more. This is called an economic expansion. But every expansion eventually slows. People become cautious. Businesses postpone investment. Demand begins to fall. Factories receive fewer orders. Production slows. Some workers lose their jobs. Lower incomes reduce spending even further. The economy enters a recession. This continuous movement between expansion and recession is called the business cycle. The government's objective is not to stop this cycle completely. Its objective is to prevent the economy from becoming too hot during booms or too weak during recessions. To achieve this, it uses fiscal policy. What is fiscal policy? Fiscal policy is the government's use of taxation and public expenditure to influence economic activity. The government has two major fiscal instruments. It can change taxes. It can change government spending. At first glance, this seems simple. But here's the important question. Is increasing government spending always good? Not necessarily. The answer depends entirely on the condition of the economy. And this is where today's topic begins. The big idea. Imagine the government announces a massive infrastructure program worth thousands of crores. Is that good policy? Don't answer yet. First ask yourself, what is happening in the economy? If the economy is in a recession, higher government spending creates jobs, raises incomes, and increases demand. In that situation, it helps the economy recover. But if the economy is already growing rapidly and inflation is high, the same government spending increases demand even further. Businesses struggle to meet that demand. Now notice something surprising. The government did exactly the same thing in both situations. It increased spending. The policy didn't change. The economy changed. And that changed whether the policy helped the economy or harmed it. That's the secret behind pro-cyclical and counter-cyclical fiscal policy. From this point onwards, never ask, what did the government do? Instead ask, what was the condition of the economy when it did it? That one question is enough to identify whether a fiscal policy is pro-cyclical or counter-cyclical. The government's action did not change. Only the condition of the economy changed. And that single difference completely changes the nature of fiscal policy. This is the key idea that most students miss. Pro-cyclical fiscal policy. The word pro means moving with. A pro-cyclical fiscal policy moves in the same direction as the business cycle. Suppose the economy is already expanding rapidly. Employment is high. Consumers are spending confidently. Demand is strong. Instead of slowing excessive demand, the government cuts taxes and increases spending. Demand rises even further. Businesses increase prices. Inflation accelerates. The boom becomes even stronger. Now consider a recession. Demand is already weak. Businesses are struggling. Workers are losing jobs. Instead of supporting the economy, the government reduces spending or increases taxes. Demand falls further. Production declines again. More jobs are lost. The recession deepens. In both situations, the government moved with the economy instead of balancing it. That is pro-cyclical fiscal policy. It amplifies the business cycle. Counter-cyclical fiscal policy. The word counter means moving against. A counter-cyclical fiscal policy moves against the business cycle. During a recession, the government increases spending on infrastructure, healthcare, and public services. It may also reduce taxes. People have more disposable income. Demand begins to recover. Businesses receive more orders. Production increases. Employment improves. The economy gradually returns to normal. Now consider an economy growing too rapidly. Demand is very high. Inflation is rising. Instead of increasing spending, the government reduces unnecessary expenditure or increases certain taxes. Demand becomes more moderate. Inflation gradually slows. Growth becomes healthier and more sustainable. This is counter-cyclical fiscal policy. It works against economic extremes and promotes stability. Real-world example. During the COVID-19 pandemic, economic activity slowed sharply across the world. Businesses closed. Millions of workers lost income. Consumer demand collapsed. Many governments responded by increasing public expenditure, providing financial assistance to households and businesses, and offering tax relief. These measures were designed to increase demand and support recovery. They are examples of counter-cyclical fiscal policy. Now imagine if governments had instead reduced spending and increased taxes during that recession. Demand would have fallen further. Businesses would have suffered even more. The recession would have become deeper. That would have been pro-cyclical fiscal policy. Now notice something remarkable. The government used the same two fiscal tools in every example. Taxes, government spending. The tools never changed. Only the economic situation changed. That means fiscal policy is not judged by what the government does. It is judged by whether the government's action matches the economy's need. If government action supports an economy that is already moving in the same direction, it is pro-cyclical fiscal policy. If government action moves in the opposite direction to restore balance, it is counter-cyclical fiscal policy. Once you understand this principle, you no longer need to memorize definitions. You can identify the correct policy in any real-world situation. Quick comparison. Pro-cyclical fiscal policy and counter-cyclical fiscal policy. Moves with the business cycle. Moves against the business cycle. Makes booms stronger. Prevents the economy from overheating. Makes recessions deeper. Supports recovery during recessions. Increases economic instability. Reduces economic instability. Amplifies fluctuations. Stabilizes fluctuations. Remember it forever. Whenever you hear about a government's tax cut or spending program, never ask, "What did the government do?" Instead ask, "What was happening in the economy when it did it?" If the government's action strengthens the economy's existing direction, it is pro-cyclical fiscal policy. If the government's action moves against the economy's direction to restore balance, it is counter-cyclical fiscal policy.